Hello and welcome back to Matt's Book Corner. I'm Matt and I review books in a corner. Yeah. Okay, so on to this week's book review. I've been looking at Joe Hill's first novel, Heart-Shaped Box. Is it worth a read? I'll stop that now. Let's find out. Here's the plot. We follow a semi-retired ex-rocker called Jude who's living in his mansion and living a fairly quiet life. He collects a weird amount of supernatural and gothic memorabilia. When his employer lets him know about a ghost that's for sale on a site like eBay, he cannot resist. But he really should have. The item is a suit that belonged to an old man who was going to be buried in it, but due to some weird circumstances never was. Since his burial, however, his ghost has been seen in the house, and it has been noted that he has black scratchy eyes. Jude snaps up this bargain for $1,000. Why not? But Jude soon finds out that he's taken on more than he could bargain for. So straight away when I read the novel's plot, I wanted to read the book like instantly, and I must admit that I read the book in a flurry of page turning because, as you know, I am a fan of Joe Hill's writing. Done. But what can I say? This is Joe Hill's first novel. I did really like his short story collection 20th Century Ghost, which I reviewed last time, and I must admit, if I could write anything half as good as this, I would die happy. Probably a poor choice of words there, but whatever. Now, the novel's not just a one-trick pony. There are many subtle levels to this book. Jude's character, who's a former rocker, who's trying to live a bit of a quiet existence. He's fed up with that type of life, but he's got the money. He's interested in itself. He's got a backstory that goes into some detail, and we find out some of the highs and lows of his lifestyle, drug abuse, problems in his younger childhood with his father, who is now dying, and he hasn't seen in like 30 odd years, but he still cares enough to pay for his care, so that's an interesting story, and it gets played upon later in the novel. But the icing on the cake for me is the ghost element, which is pretty damn interesting, especially the weird descriptions of how the ghost's eyes were not there, they were just black scribbles. If I saw someone with those black scribbly eyes, I would run a mile and then keep running. Now, bad points with this novel, it did feel a little bit repetitive in the middle when they're evading the ghost. The ghost gives chase as it does because it's bound to Jude, because he owns it, you see. That being said, some of the situations I find themselves felt like padding until they could get to the real meat of it at the end of the story. So, you know, you could argue that some novels have a little bit of padding, writers are a little bit self-indulgent at times. However, it slowed down the pace for me a little bit, and I didn't like that. I will say that I wish I'd read Heart-Shaped Box before I'd read his second novel, Horns, because this one feels a little bit more like a prototype, and Horns feels like the better effort. Obviously, by doing Horns, Joe Hill has honed his writing skills to an even better level. Not to criticise, it's a damn fine book, but I think Horns was better. Have you read either novel? Let me know in the comments below. All that being said, here's some quotes from the book that'll leave you wanting more. Neil Gaiman, of all, says, "A genuinely scary novel. I loved it unreservedly." And on the front cover, this is my personal favourite, it said, "It will haunt you and startle you and stay with you. And yes, visit you in your dreams." And I think it did, because I think this novel gave me nightmares, to be honest. I think probably what did it was the fact that it's a relentless killer in the form of a ghost that can't be stopped with traditional means, and that is kind of freaky if you think about it. No locked door's going to protect you this time. So overall, I'd say that Joe Hill's novel is probably not as good in my opinion as 20th Century Ghost, because that's a nice mixed bag. I would recommend Heart-Shaped Box because its looks are quite deceiving, and there's a lot more going on inside this thing, so go seek it out. I actually got this as a Christmas present, so didn't even cost me a thing. So thanks for watching as usual, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!
He gets up in the morning and he goes to work in the night, and he comes back home by 5:30, and it's the same train every night, and his world has built and comes to and a ticket never paid, and he's oh so sure, and he's oh so fine, and he's oh so healthy in his body and his mind.